Hi Eso friends, and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to discuss my approach to running PvP with this werewolf build. During this video I'm going to be explaining my rotation and my general approach to combat in multiple different scenarios. But before we get down to that, I'd like to talk a little bit about why I enjoy running werewolf in PvP. Triggering werewolf in a fight is a fast and aggressive way of taking down your opponent, and it offers many benefits that you don't find in lots of other different builds. The rotation is fairly simple, you're working from one bar as well, but at the same time that simplicity by no means limits your ability to come up with creative combinations that will really throw your opponent. Even like just popping, the werewolf ultimate itself can have that effect within a battle, especially one-on-one. So if you have your ultimate up and you're in the battle and you've got about halfway and it's still a slog, you can pop that ultimate ultimately and completely change the dynamic of the fight, because you're attacking the opponent with a completely different series of attacks and CCs, and they may not be ready for that ultimately. I actually use this dynamic for my own benefit in multiple different situations, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Cool, so let's have a look at my overall rotation, and I'm going to ask you to imagine that this NPC is an enemy player that's coming at you. And so essentially what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you very quickly here generally my approach to taking someone down, and then we'll break it down in more detail, sort of move by move, and go through it in a little bit more detail. Of course, always remember to eat your victim if you can. Makes victory taste just that bit sweeter. So let's break this thing down. Always try to get a poison injection in, that's putting a dot on the player, and popping a rally, giving you major brutality, major endurance. And we wait until the player is around 3 meters, pop the ultimate and fear them. Straight after that it's Hircine's Rage, followed by Claws of Life, which is healing you, giving you major berserk, and putting a dot on the enemy. This is then swiftly followed up by Howl of Agony, Light Attack Weave, and what you're trying to do here is burn down your enemy. If you're not successful in doing that, after 5 seconds you're popping Deafening Roar, fearing the enemy, and then you're going straight back into the previous rotation. So let's have a look at how this looks in practice. First off, against an enemy that's not particularly that experienced. So you can see there I got off a rally. Now I'm getting as close as I can to the enemy, unfortunately not close enough, so I had to pounce towards them and then popping a Deafening Roar and then straight into my rotation, and the enemy goes straight down there. This next example is against a Nightblade with slightly more experience. Tries to catch me off guard, brings my health down really quite low before I realise, but then managed to pop up a rally and then just going straight into fearing the enemy. Next, getting Hircine's Rage in, I missed Claws of Life there, but then just going straight into my rotation and trying to track him as he disappears, and trying to just execute that rotation as much as possible. And you can see there, it's fairly effective, it does quite a bit of damage. This next example is against a player which I would consider to be quite advanced. They have quite a tanky build, which is also very good at healing. So you see there I've immediately gone into my rotation, doing damage, and after that entire rotation they've managed to heal themselves once again. And so what I'm looking to do there is wait for 5 seconds and fear them again. Really what it is at this stage is a resource battle, so what you're trying to do is you're trying to essentially get them down to the point of actually where they can't heal themselves effectively anymore by continuing that rotation of fearing them. So I'd like to talk a little bit now about my approach to group battles. And the attack mainly involves Deafening Roar, which is fearing the entire group, and then Claws of Life and sort of spamming Claws of Life. You can throw effectively a heavy attack in there every now and again, which is restoring your stamina if you feel like it's particularly low. That'll do some splash damage as well. But effectively, that's really it. It's a very simple rotation, but it's very effective. The Claws of Life are healing you for every dot of damage that you do on individual players. You're getting that heals back. and the fear is really disrupting multiple enemies. And this is really useful, especially in like Cyrodiil, if you're running into large groups, fearing large amounts of them at the same time. They can't do attacks to you and the rest of the group that you're traveling with, and so running with a werewolf in your team can be really useful in general. So you can see here an example of that. I really managed to stop everybody in their tracks for a period of time, and then I'm just getting claws of life on as many people as possible with throwing in the odd occasional heavy attack. And it's quite effective. It does a decent amount of damage, and it'll really help keep you on your feet as well for about a long period of time. You know, when people start to splinter off, focus on them obviously and go straight back into your 1v1 sort of like rotation there, going straight back to that Howl of Agony light attack weave. So that's all from me. Hopefully this has been useful in giving you some idea of a werewolf rotation within PvP. Of course, this is my own personal approach, so get out there, you know, try your own and see how you get on. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.